You're listening to TheGuy Vancouver, recorded at Get Ready Sound.
Hey everybody, welcome back to TheGuy Vancouver, man. I'm glad you're here. Remember, I always appreciate the follows and the downloads. I know there's millions of you listening to me, right? But it still helps out a lot. You got to like it. You got to do all that stuff. If you haven't listened to last season, go back, listen to last season. Lots of good stuff. This season, we've got so many great guests. We're doing tons of recording. So we'll be rolling it out over the next few months. It'll keep you super interested. Today is a beautiful, beautiful day in Vancouver. My God, the sun is shining. It's like a beautiful spring day. So I'm in a very good mood. And in saying that, I am so thrilled. My guest today is a young lady that is producing a audio drama with us at Get Ready Sound. It's such an exciting project. First time I heard about it, I was like, first of all, I was thrilled that we were going to do it. And then when I listened to it, I was thrilled at the story. It's emotional. It's heartbreaking. It's an incredible story. So we have Ayla in Studio A today on the TheGuy Vancouver Podcast. Welcome, Ayla.
Hey, Kelly. Thank you so much for having me. It's so exciting to be here and to be on your podcast. I listen to your podcast, so I'm like...
Awesome. Thank you. And it's not like you haven't been in Studio A or you've been
this is like my second home.
Yeah, you've been here quite a bit lately, producing your drama here and stuff. And it's really excellent to have you here. You know, we're going to get right into it right away. The audio drama is called Flourish. Mm-hmm. And, you know, it's a heart-wrenching story of a young lady's journey through life. Mm-hmm. And, you know, the episodes that I've listened to are amazing. They're like I said, it's a great thing. But I'm going to hand it over to you, and you kind of give us, you know, where did it start? How did it come together? You know, why are you doing it? Because it's quite something.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So it's actually a story that I started to try to write as a script when I was 16. And then I wasn't confident in script writing. But what I did is I started switching it over into a prose. So the idea of a novel, that's easier for me. I've always been really great at writing stories as a younger person. And then it was kind of on the back burner. And I was actually in VFS. I think I graduated 2022.
What is VSS?
Vancouver Film School.
I'm
so sorry.
Because some people would be like, what is that? Because I was like, what is that? Yeah.
The Vancouver Film School. Yeah. I was there for their 1-year acting TV and film program. And one of the classes we had was actorpreneur. So it was where we had to put together like an idea to pitch. Yeah. Because a big thing with being an actor is trying to create your own content. Like this teacher was really an advocate for that. And I was sitting in class one day, and I told him that I had this story that's been in my back pocket for like 20 years. And he's like, you got to get that out. It's just going to like constipate you, story constipation. Yes. Like you got to get that out. And I was like, okay, yeah, and took that advice. And then really what pushed it forward was Creative BC. They were having a podcast pilot program for funding, and it was $10,000 to put to start developing a podcast. And so we applied, and we had to have a team. We had to do, you know what I mean? And here I am. I don't even have a script. I don't have a team. I don't have anything, but I want to apply to this because I'm like, it's now or never.
Yeah, bet.
So I kind of like threw it out there. I was like, hey, who wants to, you know, direct or maybe help me produce or, you know, write? And I found Amy. I found 2 classmates. Unfortunately, they're not with us anymore, from Vancouver Film School who jumped on board, and we just started going with the writing. We submitted the application. We didn't get approved. That's okay. But it was that little, you know, push forward that started something where otherwise I don't know if I would have actually done it.
The thing that's interesting too is that I've found in my life, not a similar situation, but one of the businesses I did was something that I just was strangely fell in love with like instantly. And I wanted to do a business in this, and I didn't have any knowledge, didn't have the money, but I still went forward and it all fell in place.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes when that happens, it's that whole weird universe speaking to you. It all falls in place. The people that you need find you, and the things that you need find you, and it all comes together. And that's exciting because then you get really energized that this project, whatever it is worthwhile doing. And then especially when other people come on board and are like, yeah, I want to do this. This is going to be, this is going to be whatever it's going to be, but I want to do it because it's going to be exciting, So that's awesome that you got it all pulled together. How did you find us?
So I found you guys through Spencer because I knew Spencer from On the Mic training. Sorry,
Cool.
I'm going to try not to use acronyms.
Yeah, because people don't know what we're talking about.
So On the Mic training. So actually, before I went to VFS, Vancouver Film School, I was at On the Mic training and I did voiceover there.
Oh, cool.
I have always wanted to act, but I also knew that I always wanted to create and put out my own content as well.
Yeah.
And I really believe in training and learning all pieces of the puzzle, especially if you're going to be an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
So at least you have an understanding of what everybody's doing in that business. You know what I mean? So Spencer was the audio engineer there. Absolutely fell in love with him on a platonic level. I could see his eyes looking at me, and just loved all the advice and everything. So when I found out that the studio was being put together, and then seeing the photos of this and coming in and being like, hey, I'm thinking of applying to this funding, and I want to do this, and I want to use you guys, and they were telling me about this Studio A, which hadn't even been built yet, and I was like, I'm going to use that one. Like, awesome. I wanted the best sound, and I already trust Spencer's ability. Like, he did my demo, my voiceover demo and stuff like that. So,
he's pretty good behind there.
Yeah, so
he's great.
So that's how I found you guys.
Cool. I remember when our producer Tat brought it to me, and she was like, "Yeah, we have this girl, and she wants to do this," and she explained it to me, and she was saying, we're gonna be there to support them because they're looking for support, and I was like, let's do this. This is what we want to do. We want to have 10 or 20 of these productions going, because I think it's perfect for podcasting. The story that you've written and all those kind of things, and so many more people could get into the movie industry or any other industries through this. If you've written a great story, podcast it.
Yeah,
podcast it.
Totally.
And you're going to have this under your belt now, and I know you're going to do more. And then at some point you're going to move on to the film industry, and you'll have a bank of work that you could take to a producer and go, "Oh, listen to that," and they'll go, "Huh, I love it. Good, let's make a movie. Oh, I love it. Let's make a TV show," because you've already created something exciting through this format, which is so much easier and less expensive. A friend of mine's in the film industry, and they did like a film demo, and it ran them $80,000.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's crazy.
Amy and I talk about how this would be so amazing visually, and when we first started writing it, we're like, "Oh, we could do this. Oh, wait, that's visual. Oh, we could do that." And so it really was a task to try to be immersive, audio in an audio sense as you are visually, and that was one of the goals. But we do, like you were saying, doing audio dramas is a great way to get into trying to get it turned into a TV show or a movie, and it doesn't cost as much.
Or like you were explaining to me earlier, because again, when you come in, you guys are taking up the studio for a day. It's excellent. There's 10 or 15 actors. There's lots of hustle and bustle. So I've never really been able to have the time to sit down with you. And so one of my questions post to this was like, "Oh, did you write this book first and then the podcast?" And then you told me that it's kind of a combination thing.
Yeah.
I'm writing the book and doing the podcast and seeing what works, and then it'll be able to fit in. And I see that too with like young screenplay writers. If you want to be a screenplay writer, can you write a podcast screenplay? Because if you can do that, you're on your way. And then you can move that into the visual. If you can do this, you can do the visual, because this has to be very expressive.
Yes.
Like some of the episodes, I'm just like, I'm like tears, because it's, you've got to lay that emotion out. You can't rely on the visual. It has to be, spoken emotionally. So it's really interesting. And then because you guys do it, I listen to a whole bunch now. And there, and there's lots of good ones and there's lots of bad ones, but there's lots of people doing it. But I just think it's a great format. I just think it's super interesting.
Yeah.
And podcasting is perfect for it. The other question I had is, give us like an idea. Because like I said, I just kind of roll in and out. I say hi to people and I get out of here. But, I think people would be interested in, what does it take to do something like this? But specifically, because I know it's a lot of work for you, what does it take to do a day in here?
Before I get to that, I just wanted to quickly touch on the fact that with podcasting and audio dramas, there's been actually a few that have been produced from the podcast themselves. So there's Limetown, which actually was filmed here in Vancouver.
Unreal.
It was a Facebook when Facebook tried to do their streaming thing.
Yeah.
And then there was another one that I actually auditioned for. I don't know if it ever got picked up, but wanted to throw that in there.
It does. It is already transferring through.
Yeah. So, but anyways, to answer your question, what does it take? Well, it
a lot of hard work. I know that.
Hard work. Yeah. A lot of hard work. So Amy and I sit down. I will either send Amy the prose that I have, which isn't always the case, because like you said, I'm kind of writing it. It's kind of forced me to write the prose a little bit more because I only had so much written. So I'll send Amy the prose, and then she'll go and she'll put it into a script, and then she'll send it to me, and then I'll go through it and just maybe change lines, or there's editing, there's a back and forth, there's a whole thing, and then there's casting, and being an actor, being on the other side of the table is oh my gosh, this is everything that our teachers were talking about, and it's crazy and so much. So great. It's such a great experience to experience that. And then from there, it's getting all the actors on board, and then scheduling and making sure that everybody can come in at a certain time, or I'm doing a call sheet. I'm, and then there's the purchasing of the food. So a lot of the time with voiceover, you come into a studio and they don't necessarily have. They'll have snacks, but not necessarily what we have. Being an indie project, I really wanted to show as much care to our cast and crew as possible. We don't have a lot of money, so it's I want to take care of them as best as I can in whatever way we can. So I'm coming in the day before and I'm setting up the craft table with all kinds of food.
Yep,
I think one of the cast members was okay, so to improve on the next one, don't buy so much food.
Can't have a big belly and be emotional.
Right.
Yeah.
And then it's coming in for 8:30 usually the day of, and just making sure everything's set up, and here we are. I'll be in the control room. I've actually directed a few. I've had other people direct. And we come in and we go scene by scene, and it part of the call sheet and the scheduling is cutting the script down and breaking the script down into little scenes so that so there's a lot of that, and
it's a lot like making a movie.
It is,
but just audio. Because I know, like I said, I kind of fly in and out when you're doing it because it's a busy day here, and definitely not inside my expertise. I'm not needed here. But, afterwards I'll sit in with Spencer on the post-production, and it's just him creating the rest of the sound effects and linking it all together. It's amazing. I remember, I think it was the first episode I'd come in and it was running, and I was oh, okay. And I was I didn't get it because he had no sound effects yet. And I was listening, and I'm okay. And then the next day I came in and it was running again. I'm holy, that's a million times different. Where did that bus come? So it's when he adds all the sound effects and all the doors closing and people walking, it becomes real, right? I was oh my God, this is incredible. It just, because it's not that I didn't know. I just didn't know. I just didn't think about it, right? So, it really brings it to life. But it is, like you say, it's making a movie.
Yeah.
Big process.
It was trying to go to UBC, the actors union, and being hey, can we use union and as well as non-union actors? You know what I mean? It was going to SOCAN and being hey, can we get a license for music? Because one of the things we've done in some of the episodes is we've used music to specifically tell you what time period you're in.
Yeah.
Because it's not always we're kind of between 1986 mid 1980s to 2002, the Covenant House and Amelia. That's all 2002. You know what I mean?
Okay, let's get into right there because you're talking about. So just give us a rough overview because I want people to go to listen to this. But what is the story about?
So it's basically about a young girl who goes through a traumatic childhood, and she struggles to rewrite her story and to flourish. The story is we kind of have a plan for 3 seasons, maybe more. But the story is going to kind of start with the trauma, and then it's going to go into the healing, and then it's going to go into the flourishing. And there's a big twist that we're so excited about, which won't come until one of the later seasons.
Awesome.
So right now we're kind of doing some of the backstory, and we're doing the backstory through flashbacks. So when she's sleeping and dreaming. And she's, but her present day is where she's actually started to rewrite her story, as we call it, and has gone to Covenant House.
Awesome.
Which is a youth shelter to try to, rebuild her life.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Let's talk about Covenant House for a second.
Yeah.
If people don't know what Covenant House is, I do just because I think it's a great organization. It's where youth, so kids that are out on the street can go to get support and get help and get real direction. And the things that I've read about it and studied about it, it's a great organization, and they do a really good job. I'm not, it's like, is it 100%? Nothing's 100% in this world, and I'm sure that they have, things that don't work out, but it's in a great organization. It's unbelievable they're out there helping kids because, again, there's not a lot, and and it's just crazy that there isn't more. But if you're a youth out on the streets, I can't imagine it. I never had that experience. I'm lucky that I had great parents and a great upbringing, and my biggest trauma was maybe not getting pasta. Mom, why not more pasta or something? Yeah, no, I got baggage like everyone else does. But this is a story that's should be told, and it's important for people to listen to it because it is real. And we were talking earlier, and so is it autobiographical and stuff? But you explained it because you explained it to me better than I can even.
Okay. So it's based on true events. Yes. So not necessarily the whole story is true, but there's a lot of events that are true, and it's based on somebody's life.
Yes.
But really, it's become Amelia's life. It's become Amelia's story, which is a universal story that we hope will help somebody, whether it helps to heal or it helps to maybe get somebody out of a situation that's similar to this. It's not exactly relatable, but the kind of the things we're talking about, I think a lot of people experience.
Totally.
And they need a way to know they're not alone.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, it very much feels like a real world story because I'm sure there's a million of those exact scenarios that happen with young people and young women out there again. And so it rings true. And I'm sure it is true, but it's it's true. And it's a great way to explain it, right? It's kind of like everyone's stories that have those traumas.
Yeah, it's like this person's given up this story to Amelia, who's telling the story for Amelia, for the world. You know what I mean? And it's therapeutic to this person, but at the same time, we're hoping it helps. Like I said, helps or is therapeutic to somebody out in the world.
Yep. Yeah. If it helps just one person, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like I said, it's awesome. Like I said, listen to each one of them, and it's like whoa.
It's a lot. It's this first season is a lot.
But that's great.
And we have the content warnings, and we have the be gentle with yourself.
Yep.
Because we understand it's a lot. Like we even have a mental health coordinator that comes in.
Yeah, when you guys are doing the daily recordings. Yeah. And when I first heard that, because I'm an old man, right? I was like, what? Totally understand now, because it is so emotional, and for I wouldn't be able to do it because I'm not an actor, but for an actor to get into that mindset, I just know because I have a lot of friends, and you have to get into that mindset, and then when you come out of it, it could be emotionally difficult for yourself, and now I totally understand why. I think it's a lady. That doesn't really matter, but she's on board because I like in the beginning I was like, what what do you need that for, right? Now that I've listened to the episodes, totally understand.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I'm sure that you've probably had a few people come out of the booth here and be like, whoa.
Yeah, so it's been Megan and Karen who we've had from Principal Intimacy Coordinators.
Cool.
And they're absolutely amazing. They come in with all their like little kit, and they're checking in with the actors before and after, and just throughout the day, and they're absolutely amazing.
Yeah, and I actually looked into that, and pretty much now on every movie set and everything that goes on, that kind of person is there.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's a great thing.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
like I said, I've never been an actor. I've never had experience on an acting set, but a lot of friends I have are actors, and you know, after doing some TV series or a movie, they come out and they're just like, that was the worst experience of my life. Not enjoyable because of those reasons. No support, you know, very abusive, you know, from directors or producers or whoever, right? So I'm glad that's filtering into all parts of the industry. I think it's just, you know, ends up being a better product, you know, and people need to be looked after, you know, in any job.
Yeah.
You know, I worked, and it sounds weird, but I worked like big construction for years. And even in big construction, that was starting to take place because people were getting fed up with being treated like a piece of machinery. And like, you know, not taking into consideration that, you know, this man who's 40 or 52 years old, who's on the road working for 3 months straight without seeing his family, you know, doesn't have any baggage that goes along with that. You know, his wife calling him every day that, when are you coming home? And I don't care that the paychecks are huge. You know, so now even in the construction industry, there's a lot of mental health
there is
initiatives going on, people being looked after better, understanding that, you know, it's tough being out there. You know, and too, like a lot of the cases, it's a dangerous job.
Yeah.
You know, people do get killed in construction, and you can be put into dangerous situations. So I love seeing that whole format spreading out among the workplace world. We need to take far more
take care of each other.
Yeah, take care and you know, and our mental health, not just our physical health, which is incredibly important, but our mental health has to be weaved in there, just like, you know, workman's compensation. Our mental health has to be in there too, because we all have to work.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, you know, unless you win the lottery, but most of those people spend all the money and then they have to go back to work. Yes. But all of us have to work. And I always say this to young people when, you know, sometimes I'm mentoring them about work or life or whatever. And I'm like, you know what? It's a job. You know, and I know there's that old saying, oh, if you do something that you love, it's never a job. No, it all becomes a job. And you have to look at it more like that. And if you look at it as a job, that's what you're doing. And you need to protect your mental health. And there's always going to be obstacles. And there's always going to be great days and always crappy days because it's a job. It isn't a summer holiday. It isn't a trip to Hawaii, right? And you have to respect that and understand that. Even like I said, you're doing an incredibly creative venture here. It's so exciting. But, you know, you still got to come in and do the job, do the lines, be emotional. And you know, I just love, like I said, what I'm getting at is I love how you've set it up. It's a great environment. And at Get Ready Sound, we're like thrilled. And I'm probably thrilled more than anyone because I just think it's really exciting. I just think it's excellent. I've seen how you've organized it, and I've seen the product come out, and I'm so thrilled that we're doing it with you. It's
I'm thrilled to have you.
Yeah, I just love it, right?
Yeah,
it's so good. Next question would be, so, you know, you do Flourish. It's going to be great. You're going to become a superstar. You know, you're
we'll
going to
say about that.
Yeah, you know, and make it produce. What would the future look like? What, you know, this does well, and you know, are your aspirations to become a writer, producer? You know, that because like I think that, you know, I you know, maybe you want to be an actress, but what you're doing with this is really showing me that you know how to put shit together. And that's a lot of people don't know how to put shit together. Okay, there's someone behind the glass. My producer daughter, she knows how to put shit together.
She does.
Yeah, and that's,
she's amazing.
You know, and some people are like, well, anyone can do that. No. And, you know, so you're doing this really well, but what are your asks? What are you looking in the future to move this stuff forward?
Well, I think the reason I can put shit together is because I have an entrepreneurial mindset, and it's something that I love to do. But I think my aspirations is after after this gets going, I think is hopefully to take it into, there's some programs out there that are for producers, like, emerging producers, that I can try to develop and figure out how I can get it into film, into a visual aspect. Because it would be great to have it as the written word, the audio, and then a visual, and then it's accessible to anybody. Right?
I so agree. I actually envision. I'm taking a big step. No, but I envision that a lot of productions that are going to be new, so that maybe they're going to be movies or TV or any visual productions, will quickly realize that they need a podcast production with it, because people can ingest that then so much easier. Because it's like a visual aspect is you have to be sitting in a chair and watch it. Whereas the podcast, you can be at your office, in your car, and then you can get involved in it. And the podcast might not be, say, exactly what the movie's going to be. Maybe it's the actors talking about the movie. Maybe it's the producers talking about getting it together. That draws the people in, that they're going to be, oh, I want to see this movie. Right. I want to think. So I think in the future, all movies, TV shows will all have podcasts connected to them, promoting them or in some way, or maybe, little snippets of the movies or little offshoots, right? Like instead of doing a sequel, we do a little podcast of that character because it's an interesting character. Yeah. And I just think it's perfectly made in together, right? It's what the industry will go to. And like I said, I think podcast drama or entertainment of podcasting is going to be bigger than we can even imagine.
Yeah, no, I agree. The Last of Us is a TV show that I watched, and they actually have a podcast that goes along with it. And The Last of Us is coming here to film, which is absolutely amazing for their second season. Yeah,
there you go. Exactly.
Right. But yeah, my aspiration is to hopefully take this into the visual medium.
Cool.
I would like to, once we kind of get settled with this one, and we're feeling okay, is maybe to find somebody else that wants to, share their story, so whether it's someone coming to us to help them produce something, or whether it's writing something else, because I have other ideas. It was kind of like I had to get this one out of the way so that I can make room for others, you know what I mean? And acting's still something I like to do. I love I've come in here to actually do my auditions.
Yeah, no, I know.
And I absolutely, and Tat and Spencer help, and they're,
No, I know. But the getting, especially like what you just said, is like getting this one out, the first one out, is always the thing. Even just the last podcast I was doing, we were talking about that. And this young man, he's doing some YouTube stuff, and it was like he thought about it for a year. And then he did it, and he was like, my biggest mistake is I should have done it then. Because
just do it.
Yeah, just do it, because it all pushes forward, and don't listen to anyone that tells you, oh, you have to know all this, and you have to, you learn as you go along, and that's the best learning there
exactly the amount of things I've learned from doing this, and I'm like, why didn't I do this sooner?
Yes.
Why?
And you don't,
why did I wait?
And you can't think about it when you're just thinking, well, what could happen? You have to do it. It's all about, I've got this great idea. I'm going to get out of the seat. I'm going to get it done. There are obviously some planning. There's working with good people and that, but it's you got to do it. Now that you've got one under your belt, and it's going to be great. The next one's going to be that much easier, because there's no, there's a fear too. I'm sure.
Yes. Definitely. There is a fear. There's a fear that can overcome. But once you start taking those steps, even if they're just small steps.
Yeah. And the fear is real.
Away.
And it goes away, but it's real. You should be fearful. You should be anxious. You got to do a good job. But once you realize, once you get going, the fear's gone, and the people around you are like, great, we love it. It's good. It's going good.
Yeah.
And that's always that thing, get it done. And then the next one's better, and the next one better and better. That's how we learn. I love, like I said, there's a great saying, and I say it all the time. The road to success is a million failures.
Mm-hmm. You cannot be successful without failing. That is something I've learned through the training I've done through both of those schools, and just through life in general, and even through this doing this podcast, this audio drama. We're not perfect. We're doing little things that were little mistakes, and we're learning from them, and it's.
And the funny thing is, too, I've played music all my life, and for a few years I was in bands and everything. But certain bands are like, oh, we made a mistake. No one knows. A live band, when you make a mistake, everybody just either thinks it's part of the show or they don't even notice they're not musicians. So creative people really can get in their head about like, oh my God, it was a little thing, you know?
Yes, because like I'll like Spencer will send me the what he said, and then I'll listen to it, and then I'm like, oh, I can like, ooh, we could do this, or this can be this, and sometimes with writing, especially in audio, it's like you don't know what's going to work until you listen to it. So sometimes we have to. So I'll come in here and I'll listen to. I'll kind of help him, and I'll be like, oh, let's do this. We got to do this. But for the last episode, there's actually something that after listening to, I'm like, oh, we should have put the subway going away. And I'm like, I'm the only one that notices that. Like, you know what I mean? That's like the littlest mistake that doesn't matter. Yeah. But like, it like can keep me up at night.
It's part of just being a creative. You know, we all have that. But like I said, you've learned. Then you go, yeah, I know it, but no one else will. So then you let it go, and those are the
creative license.
Yeah, right? those are the great things. And two, it's like trusting people. You know, I think we opened the studio like last year, August, and you know because as you've seen, you've been here tons of times. All my guitars and everything. I love making music, and we would do some music at the beginning, and then I was like, "Oh, Spencer, I want it like this. Oh, Spencer, I want it like that." Oh, you know, and I'm like, and now it's like I just I do some tracks, whatever, and give it to him because I trust him. It's like, oh yeah, he knows what he's doing, and he knows it better than I do because it's like this sounds better, buddy. Trust me, you know. So it's like I said, it's all about building that team, and like you know, and learning that, you know, part of it is letting go. Yes. Part of it is the trust. Yes. Part of it is about not being too anal about your creation because it feels, you know, like a child, right? It's like, and like for all creative people, you know, when I write a song, it's just like, oh, you know, it's my child, right? And what do you mean we should? No, don't. I can't. You know. And then you learn to kind of let it go, and then when you do, it comes out even better because those people you're working with aren't there to not help you. They're there to make it successful, and they're putting their creativity in it. So, you know, it's just like, you're not the only creative person up. Like there's more, and they're putting in things that I didn't think about. I love that whole process.
Yeah. And that's why I like going in and just being like, okay, we did our recording. Hey, Spencer, do your thing, do your magic. You're a magic worker. And then we'll come in and we'll like just tweak it where, you know, because sometimes it just doesn't work. What we wrote in the script just doesn't work. You know what I mean? Or even with our actors, it's like, we have some amazing actors. We got to just trust that they know what they're doing, you know, and not helicopter direct, you know, like, you know,
I know what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, It definitely,
no, it's great. I mean,
it's a balance.
Yeah, it's a balance. And that's why I said, now that you've got this one undergoing and going and growing and stuff, you know, the next project will be just so much more clear. And this is what we need to do. And then it'll grow, right? That's like I said, the whole. I had a chat with someone the other day, and we were just talking about just life and general stuff, right? And I said this statement, and she kind of looked at me in a funny face. And the statement that I said, you know, that realistically in the world, we are all creatives. Yes. The problem is that we get told by school and by work and by society that we're actually not, and that's so untrue. Every day, we all make creative choices. And she was like, yeah, you know what? You're right. I said, yeah, we're all creatives. Now, that doesn't mean that you're going to go out and write a song. You don't even know how to play guitar, but you're a creative human being in your aspects of your life and everything you do, you know, and it's like, and I think that especially in school and even in the workplace, we just have to promote, you know, not the wishy-washy creativity. I'm not talking about, I'm talking about every aspect of our life is creativity. Every choice that we make. Picking out our dinner and cooking, it's creative. You know, the choice, all the choices we make are creative, and we should push that more forward because that only helps in everybody's aspect of life and work and enjoyment and everything. We are all creatives on some level or another. And she was like, oh my God. And I'm like, yeah.
Well, life is a creation. Yeah. You know, like everything has been created at some point. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And we all learn. I mean, like I said, you hang out in the studio a lot. So, you know, and we have an interesting dynamic here. Like, you know, my daughter runs it. You know, Spencer's my son-in-law, and he does the things. And, you know, my grandchildren are here. We bring the kids in.
Oh, and let's not forget Spike.
Yeah, and, like and the dog's here. And, you know, and the other day I was telling someone about that, and they even like, well, it's even more deeper than that because you're Tatiana's father, and then the kids are your grandfather, and you're the grandpa there, and you're there though working, and it's like it's a great dynamic. And he said to me, it's like the dynamic of more like the 30s, where you had families working together. You had grandparents, children, and grandchildren together. And I was like, yeah, you're right. He goes, and that's just an amazing format.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I we love it. That was one of our mandates when we opened the studio. It's like, can the kids come here? Yeah. Anybody's kids can come here. It's a big space too. They can run around and have fun, right?
So my baby, when I have it, can come here?
Yeah, well, you have to, again, you went like this because you're with child, right?
I am.
That's awesome. I'm so excited.
Yeah.
So and how long?
So I'm currently 15 weeks. We were talking about trying to have one in a year or two. And we weren't expecting it to happen now. I think the universe was like, it's now, not later. It's now. And
awesome. That's exciting.
It's kind of cool because like I have I have a son that's turning 18. So it's like, it's kind of like you've gone through that process, and now I have the privilege of doing it again. You know what I mean?
Awesome. That's exciting. That's exciting.
And I'm like, and I'm really excited to come into the studio and share that with my own child, you know what I mean, and be a part of this family.
Yeah, you bet.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, we were laughing the other day because the littlest one here, Rafi, she's running around, but she's already like super comfortable in Studio A, and she was on the chair pretending that she was talking into the microphone. And we were like, oh, she's going to be a studio rat. She's going to become a producer or an engineer or an act, because she's going to grow up in this environment and is immersed in it. And again, it's not always going to be that way, but we try to have great clientele too. One of my mandates, I've had businesses all my life, and about midway through being an entrepreneur, I was like, okay, I'm not doing business with people I don't like. Even though I can make really good money, it's not worth it.
Yeah.
I only want to do business with people that are like-minded, that are on the same path, that have, good goals in mind, that are really creative. Might not be what I think is creative. That's not up to me to decide, right? We want to have good people in the studio that are like that. We had a client in just a few days ago, and the children were here, and she was just like, oh my God, this is so beautiful. She loved it, right? Because I was a little like, we're doing a big project. So like, oh no, the kids are, it's like, calmed her down, right? So I just think it's an interesting thing, and some people are like, oh really? I'm like, yeah, why not? Yeah. I just love it, right? It's like, and that's crazy that it's not crazy you're going to have a kid. And I know it's always trying to be planned, and it's never planned, and it's always the right time. Yeah, because I've had many younger people go, oh, I'm pregnant. I don't know if it's the right time. It's never the right time. It's the only time to have a baby.
Like the universe is like, it's gonna happen now. And I think because my spouse is half Chinese, so it's the year of the dragon.
Oh, there you go.
Right.
Sweet.
So and his grandmother passed, and in the family we talk about how his grandmother loves dragon babies, and and just like the good fortune and everything like that. So
that's awesome.
I don't know. Maybe she had a hand in it if you believe in. This.
Yeah, you never know. I've lived long enough that I will never question anything as far as the mystical world that surrounds us. I got no idea what's reality and what's not. But it's funny though, because like my wife's Chinese, so all of my kids are halfers.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And I don't even know what Tatiana is, what year they were born in, but it's all very important to them. They know, and the year of the pig and the duck and all this, and her grandmother loved that kind of stuff, right? So it's super cool that kind of stuff. That's awesome. The last thing I wanted to talk about today too was in the Flourish story. It's highly emotional, and it's Amelia. So it's a young woman, and and you're a young woman doing this. What are your thoughts on the whole? I always find it interesting because I do a lot of podcasts with women, young women, middle-aged women that are doing their own stuff, right? And I love it. I think it's about time, and it's beyond about time, right? But, what are the challenges that you've had as a woman, you're doing this project, but just in the industry, in the acting industry, in the world in general, and, pushing through those barriers?
I can't say that I'm 100% experienced in the industry as I'm just kind of getting started in the last few years. But seeing the stories and seeing like fellow colleagues, definitely it is so great to see that women are pushing forward and they're doing their own thing and they're taking charge and they're saying, no, I, especially in film, it's like, once you reach a certain age, you're done. And it's, Reese Witherspoon is one of my like icons because like, she's like, no, I'm going forward. I'm producing, I'm doing these things. I'm helping other women. And it's a sisterhood that it's just really great to see like women coming together. I wanted to make sure that we were working with women as well, you know what I mean, as much as possible. So it's just really great to see women coming forward and directing and telling stories and raising their voice, and inspiring others and uplifting voices that need to be heard.
Yeah, what I find interesting about it is that, the world is 50% women and 50% men. And, been dominated by men throughout time. But it's like, I love creative stuff by women because it's a different point of view that's enlightening, but it's not a different point of view. Be it that we're men or women, we're still human beings and we're living in this world together. So we have so many shared things that happen to us, but it's different for a man than it is for a woman. And the creative part from a woman and can be so enlightening that you're just like, oh, I never thought of it like that. Because I'm just a guy and this is how I think. So I just think it's great that, there's just so much more women involvement in the creative industries. I mean, look at music. Dominated by women now, but even in like so many of the podcasts I've had now are entrepreneurial women, right? And it's just like it's great, and they come to it with such a different point of view that I think male entrepreneurs should look at that and go, there's a good idea that I don't think of because I'm a guy. I think a certain way. Like, I don't know. There was some crazy book, Men Are From Mars and Women Are From
Venus,
something like that. I don't know. I have bad dyslexia, so I don't read anything. But it's true. We both have we both come from a different point of view, but we're all the same.
We're still human.
Yeah, we're still
human beings. We still have the same we have similar emotions and experiences, just kind of like different perspectives.
Just different perspectives. Right. And I think sometimes, when we get into those discussions, or sometimes I call it the battle of the feminism and the maleism and all that, is that we forget that, but we're still both human beings.
No matter who you are, you're still a human being.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, this thing's going to hurt you and it's going to hurt me. If I get kicked in the shin or you get kicked in the shin, it both hurts. So I hate that separation. I want to be one big group of people working together and being excited about our differences. Learning like, wow, I love how you produced that vision.
Right.
I would have done it different.
Yeah.
And I love your vision because it gives me now, a different vision. So I just think like I said, when this project came onto the table for us and they sat me down and said, we really want to do this. And I saw that too, because there was notes in there from Tad about, and she wants to be, very women-centric producers and directors and stuff.
Yeah.
I was like, on board.
Well, it wasn't even just women-centric. It was also being Canadian-centric.
Yes.
Because that's another big push is
You
that
bet.
we don't see, we're here in Vancouver, especially like Vancouver, Toronto, we are a service industry for the States. And so it's not often you're seeing a lot of Canadian content. So this is not only a Canadian story, but it's also a Canadian crew and cast and crew. And then it's women, like, you have two women who are writing this as well as...
You've got to put that in a little bit of the promos. See, I didn't
You
know
think
that.
so?
Yes, I didn't know that. I didn't know that. I think that's extremely important.
Well, because the story is like it's based in Toronto. It's a Canadian story. We're all Canadian cast and crew, right?
Well, we should do it. We'll do a little promo. I think that's really important because I'm a huge believer in that. Like, I mean, Canada is like an incredible country. Vancouver is an incredible city. And, I think sometimes because we're Canadian and yes, we're nice at everything, we don't promote ourselves enough and we don't take credit for how incredibly creative this country is. Incredible artists that we produce and actors, but in all the production levels, right? So you have to put that in there.
Yeah, I guess I should.
Because I think there'll be a lot of people that will be very turned on by that too. That this is not just this and this. This is a fully Canadian production.
Yeah.
that we're proud to be Canadian and making this in Vancouver with all these great people.
Like this, we had people from the States audition as well, and they're absolutely amazing. But some of the awards and some of the things that we were looking at is like we want to be that kid. Like for this first one, we want to be Canadian. We want to help lift up those people that are in our community and make a community from the community we live it within. So there's some actors that we've given them their first jobs.
That's
what
awesome.
I mean?
Yeah.
Which no matter where this goes, that is like the best feeling. You know what I mean?
That's the best feeling.
That's already successful for me.
You bet. And it'll pay off in the long run because those people will appreciate it. And that person's going to be handed something one day and I know the person that you need to get a hold of.
Yeah.
Because you gave them their first break or you were there for them. They'll be like, oh, you got to talk to this girl. We can get it produced through her. And, that's how it works. We, from you doing this here, we've gotten work already.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. There was Anthony.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And you guys are bringing in some big stuff. And I'm just like, I'm so excited for you guys.
And so, again.
And that was one of the things I was hoping that this would lead to other work for the studio.
And we knew it would because, like I said, it's a great. So I'm like I said, I'm a huge believer in that. Like, you help them out and you're there for it. It's a Canadian production. And you tell them that we're here for you guys. Yeah. And then when you do that to people, they're going to help you out. 100%? Not 100%, but nothing's 100%. There's always going to be that actor that's like, I'm an actor. So, and they're beautiful people and you got to love them. But the majority of people are going to be there for you and help you out and help you along the way because it benefits them. You become a big timer producer and they're like, I want you on my production. I've worked with you from the beginning. And, it's a great thing. We're getting close to our time. You give the spiel. Where do you listen to this? What is it called? How to find it? Where you're going with it?
Okay, so it is Flourish, an audio drama. You can find you can listen to it on Spotify and Apple, as well as RSS for those who listen, via feed. We're working on getting it onto other platforms. You can find us on Instagram at flourish_audio drama, as well as flourishaudiodrama.com is our website, where you can see some of the show notes. You can also find our cast list on IMDb as well. We've made sure to credit our actors there. But I think that's pretty much all the places you can find us.
Okay, that's awesome. I'll put in my 2 notes. Go and listen to it. It's exciting. It's emotional. It's really, really good. And just let yourself put your earbuds in, listen, and you get drawn in. And I was like, oh yeah, every episode now I'm waiting for it to come out. And, we're so excited that we're having you here and we're looking for like a long longevity in it. I can't wait for the whole story to be out and for you to do more stuff with us here, but definitely go listen to it. It's one of the reasons I got you on the podcast today. I wanted to help you out, promote it. I want more people to listen to it. It's extremely exciting. And it's been great talking to you today.
Thank you so much, Kelly.
I'm so glad you can come in. We tried a few times. I think I got sick and then you got sick. Yeah, I know. It's like, it's always the way. But today's a beautiful sunny day in Vancouver. Nobody's sick. It's great. So I just like to thank you so much for coming in. It was great talking to you. Remember, my podcast, TheGuy Vancouver. Follow me. Download the episodes. I'm on Instagram, TheGuy Vancouver. I'm even on TikTok. I'm so funny on TikTok. And then you get to see what I look like. I'm an old man and I say the silliest shit on TikTok. So you can catch me on all those socials. Just like to thank the guys at Get Ready Sound, Studio A, making another great podcast. Everyone have a great day. We'll talk to you soon.
Get Ready Sound is an innovative recording studio that specializes in high-quality podcasts, voiceover, and post-production. Visit them online at getreadysound.com or find them on various social media platforms.